eventually, I hope.
The president making the comment during a joint appearance with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem. Netanyahu applauded Trump's tougher stance on Iran and Syria, said he has real hope for change. A Mississippi lawmaker says he is sorry for saying Louisiana leaders should be lynched for removing Confederate monuments. State Representative Carl Oliver compared their actions to Nazis. The Republican lawmaker wrote he wished to extend an apology for any embarrassment he caused to his colleagues and fellow Mississippians. Jury selection underway in Bill Cosby's sexual assault case in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania.
Bill Cosby's accused of drugging and sexually assaulting a woman in his Montgomery County home in 2004. The 12 jurors and 6 alternates are being chosen in Allegheny County, which is about 300 miles away. They will then be brought into Montgomery County, where they'll be sequestered for the trial's duration. Cosby is in the courtroom for the process of assembling the jury, which should take several days. More than 50 women have stepped forward to accuse Cosby of misconduct, but most of those cases are too old to be prosecuted.
Matt Cook reporting. Have you seen this video? It is all over Facebook and Twitter. Sea lion popped its head out of the water on a dock in Canada over the weekend. As you can imagine, people were thrilled. A young girl and her family started to feed the animal. Then all of a sudden, the sea lion pulled the girl into the water. Relative quickly rescued the child. Nobody was hurt. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Hi folks, let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply, and of course the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
KCAA.
From the studios of KCAA Radio, you're listening to the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show with Donald Carpenter. Join Donald for straightforward conversation, meaningful analysis, and advice to brighten your day. Grab your wife and kids and hang on for the ride of your life.
Hello, happy Monday. It's Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. We have a great show lined up. We've got an amazing guest, but before we get to our guest, I got to tell you, I got yelled at by one of my clients. He said, Donald, you're not tooting your horn enough. You got to talk about yourself. So I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. I have a wealth management firm. It's called DFC Wealth Management in Century City. We do private wealth management, take care of clients. I've said several times on air that our specialty is helping people not lose all their money. But quite frankly, for the year, we're way ahead of the S&P 500. And so that's my horn tooting. One of the reasons that we're way ahead of the S&P 500 is because I hire some pretty amazing analysts. And one of the guys that is in charge of all that analysis, I've got on the line today. And I want to welcome our good buddy, Keith McCullough. Hey, Keith.
Hey, Don. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem, man. All the way from Connecticut?
Indeed.
That's all right. That's all right, man. You know, I was been watching you for a very long time. I was talking to your buddy Dan, and I was telling him a little story this morning about how I used to live tweet you when you were on CNBC, and you get in arguments with Tim Seymour, and I would live tweet you. I would say, "Don't make him cry, Keith. Don't make him cry." And then you get in an argument with him, and they would pan to his face, and you would thought you stole his puppy, man. Because
I tell you, those were the good old days on the old Wall Media Network. Fortunately, I don't have to spend as much time doing that anymore.
Oh, he looked so sad, and then I would tweet you, "Oh, you did it. You made him cry." That was pretty funny. But
yeah, that was those were the good old days where we were 9 years old as a company now, but if you go back to those days, I was just trying to get noticed. So it was pretty easy to get noticed. I guess nowadays people look at mainstream media for what it is, which isn't all that helpful. So at the end of the day, I appreciate it, Don, that you were an early adopter of the Hedgeye process and all the things that we evangelized.
Well, after the 2001, I mean, when things really started to come apart, and then they came apart again in 2007, really didn't have a choice. You had to stop paying attention to things that were being spouted on the news by all the big talking head gurus, and losing all that money, the buy and hold and, a modern portfolio theory and all that, let's divvy up your portfolio in some age-related condition of, stocks, bonds, and cash, and then watch it all disappear and just like, wait a second, there's got to be something else. You had a lot of conviction, and I wasn't sure, just some guy out there spouting. But when you started talking about the math you were doing, that's when it really got my attention, a former math major. And I thought, wow, maybe this guy's got something to say. So started to follow you, and sure enough, you seem to be able to, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and then maybe you can talk a little bit about it, but you seem to be able to get the economic backdrop, what's going on around the world in a macro sense, and then pull up from that, huge pile of data, specific investment ideas that had the highest potential of working. Do I have this right?
Yeah, you do. You do. When we absolutely start with the math, the process, pardon the pun, trumps politics 100% of the time. So, as you know, Don, we're just trying to get, mathematically speaking, and it's not that much math. Sadly on Wall Street, a 12th grader could really do this math, but it's second derivative math, or it's calculus.
Right.
And I think that as investors, and certainly as those of us who are running independent research organizations like mine, I think that's a bare minimum, that people should have a 12th grade education, mathematically speaking, and then apply it to the actual data. And the data, to your point, has been accelerated in the U.S., not because of Trump. It was accelerating against a slowdown during the final year of Obama's administration. And it wasn't maybe slowing because of Obama either. The data either accelerates or it slows. And from my perspective, you don't start with your politics on that. You start with what are the drivers of the data. So we have 30 data points per month that we put into, not to get totally geeky on this, but into a predictive tracking algorithm. And these are modern day mathematical tools that you can use to measure and map the market from an economic perspective. So that gives me a lot more confidence than waking up in the morning, with a political opinion. As you know, Don, I'm Canadian. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, so I don't have to sponsor either party. But even if I did, I still wouldn't start with that, and trying to help investors make market decisions.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like politics is a good place to start when you're trying to, manage your investments. I was talking to a lady, and I've mentioned her on air before, not by name, but just as the lady who's all in cash. And she went all in cash because Trump was elected president. And I keep telling my clients and people on air, don't be that lady, because we got the markets are at all-time highs. 4 times this year? We've had corrections, and then they pop back up all in an ascending trajectory. And you're like, wait a second, if you're all in cash, you might be safe, but you're missing out a lot of money there, leaving a lot on the table.
Yeah, the whole going to cash thing, back to your point about Wall Street really messing this up, in 2000 and again in 2007, what's been interesting about this time is that Wall Street got bearish, so, they're using all the different, lessons that they should have learned and trying to apply it at the wrong time is the way that I'd look for it. So if you're somebody who likes cash like me, it's always good idea to have some percentage of cash or liquidity available to deploy on market down days where people are saying Trump's going to get, he's going to end the world, I guess, on Wednesday. That was the mainstream media's narrative. But the reality is that until I can find data where U.S. growth is actually slowing, then I'm not going to be concerned too much about things that everybody else seems to be concerned about. Some of those things being valuation in particular. Right. That's kind of a Wall Street thing to say, even though they weren't concerned about valuation in 2000 or in 2007. Now, of course, they have to complain about it all day long. But again, what you'd really be looking for is for growth to slow. Yeah. And as you know, when growth slows, you buy bonds, and when when growth's accelerating, you sell bonds and you buy stocks. And I think that that's the simplest way to kind of boil it down to kind of your audience on where we stand on things.
Yeah, and you guys have got a pretty good knack of getting a little bit ahead of those things. I mean, not always 100% at the bottom or 100% at the top, but you're really good at being right there around that bullseye, which is really...
thanks for that. I mean, those bullseyes, though, Don, as you know, they're, top, I like to say, tops and bottoms, really. I mean, tops and bottoms are processes. They're not points. I mean,
Right.
if people... I don't think any serious money manager in the world would identify with somebody who only calls tops and bottoms, like,
Right.
to the point. I mean, that to me it's unachievable. I mean, really, I could get lucky doing it, or you could get lucky doing it. But what we're really trying to do is find turning points in big economic factors, like really big ones that I think most people with money will understand,
Yeah.
like growth, inflation, profits. Like those three things are the three big ones that we focus on. And if you tell a real person who's running real money or runs their own business who has money with you, I think they understand what growth is, and they understand what inflation is, and they understand what profits are.
Yep.
And if those things are accelerating, then there's things to do. And if those things are decelerating, there's other things to do. And that's kind of, it's interesting, corporate profits, which I'm sure a lot of your clients are very well aware of, because a lot of high net worth investors, have built and run a successful business. U.S. corporate profits are at a 6-year high right now, and that's a very positive thing.
Wait, don't
in
don't
addition
tell anybody,
to
Keith.
a lot of things.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, don't tell anybody. Exactly.
Industrial, are you kidding? Industrial production hits a 28-month high last week, and where did you hear it on any news outlet? It was nowhere to be found. I put it on Facebook, and this lady come grouching back at me. You mean Fox News is the one that's the problem? I said, I didn't hear it on Fox News either. I didn't hear it anywhere. No one said industrial production was at a 28-month high. I mean, you got to really dig to get that information these days. Hey, I'm going to hold you over. Can you stay?
Yeah.
All right, man. We got a break coming up. This is Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. I've got on a guy named Keith McCullough. We're going to talk about how he scratched his way to one of the finest analytical firms in Wall Street.
NBC Talk Radio, 1050 AM.
Some combinations were just meant to go together. Chips and salsa, refrigerator and freezer, the internet, and those cute little cat videos. At State Farm, there's another combination meant to go together, home and auto, as in combining your home and auto insurance with one agent, which leads to another combination, saving dollars and cents. Your State Farm agent, the DeSalvo Insurance Agency, is here to help life go right. Combine home and auto and see how much you can save. For more information, call the DeSalvo Insurance Agency at 310-553-0241 in Beverly Hills, or find him on the web at BillDeSalvo.com. That's BILLDISALVO.com.
Hi, this is Donald Carpenter. I've written a pretty interesting book. It's called The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, How to Defend Your Family in Any Economy. To pick up a copy of The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or the website FamilyManSMVSG.com.
We want to share a secret with you. There's a new and revolutionary way to bring the Earth's most effective organic plant extracts directly to your skin in a pure and healthy way. Lule Botanicals utilizes a breakthrough process called supercritical plant extraction. Your skin will radiate vitality and health like never before. No one wants to kiss an alligator face. Now they won't have to. Visit us on the web at www.lulebotanicals.com. That's LULEBOTANICALS.com. To get your 20% discount, use promo code LLB20.
Dr. Tatsuo Hirano asks, why suffer and ignore your pain and illness? Stop it before it gets out of control. Acupuncture is like fresh air, revitalizing your body and mind. Dr. Tatsuo Hirano, renowned acupuncturist to the stars and world-class performing artists, will help you get back to optimum health. To explore the healing arts of Oriental medicine, call Dr. Hirano at 818-244-2287. The first 20 callers will receive 10% off their first visit. Just say Donald Carpenter sent you.
Berndorf Law Offices, located in Los Angeles, is an employment, counseling, and litigation boutique law firm for California employers and executives. Employment laws change almost daily, and penalties for noncompliance are substantial. If you're an employer in Southern California and need assistance navigating the waters of employee relations, legal aspects of human resources management, or need defense against a lawsuit, our lawyers can help. Find us on the web at berndorflaw.com. That's BIRNDORFLAW.com. Or on Twitter at Law4CA Employers.
Welcome back. Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show, and I've got an amazing guest on the line, Keith McCullough. I mean, this guy, started out normal Canadian kid, freezing his brains out in the frozen tundra of Canada, playing hockey like everybody else in Canada, I would imagine. And then, man, I mean, now he's managing a firm, as a CEO and founder of a firm that, Keith, how much do you manage firms that have how much under management?
It's good. It's going to be in the trillions. I don't actually know the number. I wish I did. We have 82 employees, so now, and God willing, we're going to have 100 and then more. If we're profitable, that's what businesses do, right, Don? They hire and they continue to grow.
No, absolutely. But trillions we're talking about. I mean, that's a lot of money, man. And
Yep.
and it's kind of hard to imagine. And the reason I bring that up is because we're always talking to our family, man, about working hard, making sacrifices for the family, keeping their nose to the grindstone. Not thinking about this life about what's in it for me and how great am I going to have it when everything works out my way, but just opening yourself up, emptying yourself, and being there for others. So. How did you start? Talk to me a little bit about your, growing up, and I guess you played hockey, and I've read, Keith's written a book, Diary of a Hedge Fund Manager. Do I have that title right?
Yep, you do.
Yeah, and I've read that, but it's been some time ago, and I just wanted you to give our listeners a little idea of, you're not like the blue blood, straight from, where you live now to the Ivy League to Wall Street. Tell me a little bit about how you came up.
Yeah. To be crystal clear, Don, I think I had the lowest SAT score at Yale, so I'm definitely wasn't the smartest guy in that institution, nor did I come from money. My father was a firefighter, 38 years. Again, God bless him for all the time and service he put into the community. And my mom was a teacher, so a stay-at-home mom who became a teacher. Self-taught and educated while I was finally on my way to college. But I'm a big believer that hard work and good family principles are what set somebody on the straight and narrow. And while not everybody has that opportunity, I was definitely blessed with that. And I think even till to this day, I mean, I remember my dad every day of my life would get up either for shift work at 5 o'clock in the morning is when the morning shift for the fire department would start, or he'd be coming off night shift and he'd be getting ready to put his work boots on and go build a house or labor on something so that he could make ends meet. So for me, that's kind of what I do. I mean, I don't make it overly complex. I think hard work is something that a lot of people might say that they do on Wall Street, but I see more people taking more and more shortcuts than I've ever seen before. So I think you can take advantage of that. I think that there's a lot of ways that people like you can really associate with good hardworking people that differentiate by putting 2 feet on the floor like normal human beings do every morning and getting after it. And we've been doing that for 9 years now with this company that I've built, and it's largely a testament to all the great people that we've hired, because we try to just find people that they all look very different, as you know,
yeah.
But they're very very much of the same mindset in terms of being transparent, accountable, and trustworthy in a world that seemingly is looking for those principles more and more every day.
Well, I want to tell you, you really caught my attention with three things. One, when you hired Howard Penny, I said, wait a second, I know his work because I used to work for Morgan Stanley. I said, I know Howard Penny's work, and he was one of the best analysts that they had in their shop. And then when you hired Neil Howe, I went, okay, this is it. This is it. This guy, he's got somebody's attention. So, but the third one, and you might be surprised to hear this, but you actually got me choked up because it was something you said about your mom. You said your mom told you that your job in life, and I'm paraphrasing, so you need to correct me and tell me exactly what she said because it was amazing, that your job in life was to do something that made the world, to go out every day and do something that made the world better. And you looked right in the camera and you said, and that's what I'm trying to do, Mom. God bless you. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this guy's going to make this analyst on Wall Street's going to make me cry. That's ridiculous.
Well, I don't want to make you cry, man, but she definitely can make me cry. It was one of those moments, I kind of skipped over the whole hedge fund part, but I had my own hedge fund. Again, I was just at the right place, I think, at the right time, working hard, and I caught that hedge fund wave between 2000, really the years 2000 and 2007. It was a raging bull market. I was a young portfolio manager who, probably made too much too quickly, and my mom was sitting there. So when I was working for somebody else, and I was at home on the lake, and my mom asked me, I love you, sweetheart, but what do you do? Are you doing anything to change the world? Because my mom always wanted me to be a doctor,
right?
And I had to look at her, and I said I really can't articulate to you what I'm doing right now that could make a difference. So that's really been part of the ethos of Hedgeye is starting something that every day I can get on Twitter now, and I can communicate something to a small part of the world that's paying attention and help. We call it democratizing access to world-class research, which a lot of people just haven't had the ability to have that access over the years because there's such a high fee on that.
Right.
And what we contend is if we continue to do it out in the kind of the open architecture of an open platform, then more and more people, we can change the world. We can make a better way. We won't be the ones that are screaming from the New York Stock Exchange that Bear Stearns isn't going down. We'll be the people that were telling people that Bear Stearns was going down.
Right.
So we can do a lot for a lot of people, I think. And I can only do it with a big team, to your point, with people like Neil Howe and Howard Penny and a growing team at that, because obviously this is not a one-man band.
Yep. Hey, so tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you in your research. And I'm telling you, man, it's pretty affordable.
Yeah, sure. Hedgeye.com. I mean, you can just look up hedgeye.com. There's plenty of content that we put up there for free. We don't have any advertisers. We don't have any banking. We don't do any. We don't have a broker dealer. We don't have any conflicts of interest, as you know, Don. So that's a big thing for us. We're not affiliated with any political party. Just go to the website. Take a twirl. You can see that our content. We even have a cartoonist. So people even if they don't totally get Wall Street, they'll get a kick out of our cartoons. They're apolitical cartoons, of course, but that's where you can find us, and you can find me on Twitter too. It's just my full name.
Yeah, Keith McCullough on Twitter. That's right. No, so I think that's a pretty good story. One of the things that I was talking to your buddy Dan about this morning because he put in an email to me and then sent me a Twitter. Was that he was the guy in our conversation. He said he was the guy that introduced you to Joel Osteen, and I know that you like to make a little imitation of and quote Joel Osteen from time to time. And you're always you're not always, but every now and then you say something about your faith. You say something about how you love God and I find that refreshing and heartwarming because a lot of people think that and like I remind everybody, this is a faith and family show, so we want a faith and finance show, so we want to encourage everybody to actually think that way. I had a guy on the week before last. He built a multi-million-dollar real estate firm in 60 months. And then became a Catholic evangelist. I mean, the guy talk about, and I said, well, when you were doing your real estate career, did you have the same spiritual values that you have today now that you're doing all this evangelical work. And he was like, Donald, absolutely. I had the same, faith, and it's carried me through all this work. And I know you're a hardworking guy, Keith. What's your take on all that?
Well, I agree with that 100%. I mean, I believe that there's no possible way without a greater power to achieve some of the things that my team and my family, for that matter, or the kids I coach in hockey on the weekends, these 9 and 10-year-old kids. I just fundamentally believe that there's something greater than all of us that we should appreciate and be thankful for every day. And if we have the, like I said, God willing, we're healthy and happy and confident enough to, broaden what it is that we've been blessed with in life and help other people help themselves. I think that's the best way to give back and to participate, faithfully in whatever God you believe. I'm not obviously discerning or judgmental about other people's faiths or anything like that. I don't try to, I don't try to shout from the heavens, so to speak. But I definitely get up every morning, like I said, believing in God, and I'm quite thankful for all the gifts that He's blessed me and my family and my firm with.
Well, if there's such a thing, it seems to be apparent by the way you conduct yourself. I mean, if there's one thing I've noticed about you over the years, it's that you really are looking for the truth. And I've been able to admire that from a distance, and now I'm able to admire it. I don't know. It's not that we're on the air. It's like, oh, you're not here next to me, but still, it's your pursuit and your passion for truth. It's like it's no holds barred. You will not surrender a single inch for truth. And I got to tell you, that's one of the things that really compelled me about it. I mean, you don't make up stories. You don't tell people what you think it ought to be, or you just measure and map the economy, and then you tell us, little guys, how it's going to work.
Well, I can't find a better way than the truth. I mean, that's done. If somebody can show me an alternative to that, of course, somebody who's doesn't have principles will sell their soul for money and do whatever it takes, Keith, but I'm not going to do that.
All right. No, I appreciate it. You know what? I'm sorry to cut you off because I really wanted to. I'm going to have you on again if you'll come back, but I got to take a break.
That's great. No, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. No, man, it's good to talk to you, and we're going to give out your contact information one more time. This is Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. We'll be right back.
NBC Talk Radio, 1050 AM.
Some combinations were just meant to go together. Chips and salsa, refrigerator and freezer, the internet, and those cute little cat videos. At State Farm, there's another combination meant to go together, home and auto, as in combining your home and auto insurance with one agent, which leads to another combination, saving dollars and cents. Your State Farm agent, the DeSalvo Insurance Agency, is here to help life go right. Combine home and auto and see how much you can save. For more information, call the DeSalvo Insurance Agency at 310-553-0241 in Beverly Hills, or find him on the web at BillDeSalvo.com. That's BILLDISALVO.com.
Hi, this is Donald Carpenter. I've written a pretty interesting book. It's called The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, How to Defend Your Family in Any Economy. To pick up a copy of The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or the website FamilyManSMVSG.com.
We want to share a secret with you. There's a new and revolutionary way to bring the Earth's most effective organic plant extracts directly to your skin in a pure and healthy way. Lule Botanicals utilizes a breakthrough process called supercritical plant extraction. Your skin will radiate vitality and health like never before. No one wants to kiss an alligator face. Now they won't have to. Visit us on the web at www.lulebotanicals.com. That's LOULEIBOTANICALS.com. To get your 20% discount, use promo code LLB20.
Dr. Tatsuo Hirano asks, why suffer and ignore your pain and illness? Stop it before it gets out of control. Acupuncture is like fresh air, revitalizing your body and mind. Dr. Tatsuo Hirano, renowned acupuncturist to the stars and world-class performing artists, will help you get back to optimum health. To explore the healing arts of Oriental medicine, call Dr. Hirano at 818-244-2287. The first 20 callers will receive 10% off their first visit. Just say Donald Carpenter sent you.
Berndorf Law Offices, located in Los Angeles, is an employment, counseling, and litigation boutique law firm for California employers and executives. Employment laws change almost daily, and penalties for noncompliance are substantial. If you're an employer in Southern California and need assistance navigating the waters of employee relations, legal aspects of human resources management, or need defense against a lawsuit, our lawyers can help. Find us on the web at berndorflaw.com. That's BIRNDORFLAW.com. Or on Twitter at Law4CA Employers.
This is Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show, and we're back. Hey, man. Oh, how about that Keith McCullough? You can subscribe to Keith's morning market newsletter, The Early Look, as well as his online morning show, which he does every morning at hedgeye.com, and that's HEDGEYE.com. You can also follow Keith on Twitter at Keith McCullough, and you can also follow Hedgeye at Hedgeye, HEDGEYE. So they're worth it. I mean, they're really good at giving an idea of where things are headed. And I'm going to tell you, at least for the last 6 months, these guys have been spot on in contradistinction to where everybody else has been going. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. We started off with the finance a little bit. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the market week ahead, and then we're going to move into a discussion of a little article I read about kids leaving their faith. But anyway, which is kind of sad, but I think I have some opinions on that, of course. You remember I was talking to Keith, and I was kind of having a fit about it, but industrial production did hit an all-time high, a 28-month high, not all-time high, but a 28-month high last week. And no, it was crickets on the news, absolute crickets. I Googled it. I looked all over the internet. I watched several news channels, and nobody would report it. They just didn't. And, the problem is that, like I've said before, is that we've come to believe that one person is in charge of the economy, and that's nonsense. It's a free market economy, and so you're free to have a business, and another guy next to you has a business, and somebody else has a business, and you're not being controlled by some central power. So that's silly to believe that it's one guy. It just isn't the case. But because we believe that it's one guy, or because news pundits believe that it's one guy, or they want it to be one guy, they don't want to report good news because they think that would give some kind of boost to Trump. I don't really care. I don't care if they give him a boost or not. What I do care about is they tell the truth. And the truth is that last week, industrial production in the United States hit a 21-month high. And I've been telling you for several weeks now, almost 2 months, that we are in a growth accelerating market. We're in a growth accelerating economy, and the markets are taking advantage of that. And I've been telling you that for quite a while, and it's poised to continue that way. So you can make some money here. I mean, if you're like that lady we were laughing about that's put all of her money in cash as soon as Trump was elected, you're not making any money. But if you take a little risk and are careful, you can stand to make some money. And I'd recommend looking these guys up at Hedgeye. So our week ahead is, Monday we had the Chicago Fed National Activity Index, and guess what? It was a big bump up. Why? Because of industrial production. Guess, lo and behold. Tuesday we're going to have the PMI, Purchasing Managers Index, and U.S. home sales. Then on Wednesday coming up, we're going to have mortgage applications and home sales and the Fed minutes, and that should be a kind of interesting. I expect that we'll see improving economic numbers, and I expect we'll continue to see a Federal Reserve Board that really doesn't know how to respond to it. Thursday is going to be another big day for jobless claims. There's a lot more going on Thursday, but I just thought I'd distill it to the basic stuff we need to know. And then Friday is going to be the GDP report. So all those things are things to pay attention to this week in the markets and in the economy. And if we have any indication in the trajectory or the trend, it's that things are going to continue to improve. So, I've been saying that, but as I have also been saying, it's not the markets aren't going to go straight up. Last week we had about a 3% correction, scared a lot of people. People were calling me up, "What are you doing? What's going on?" And I said, "Well, honestly, my response was, I'm buying with impunity." I told one guy, a buddy of mine, who's a former hedge fund manager. He said, "What did you do on that market correction?" I said, "I just went and bought some stuff that I knew was really strong underlying fundamentals, and I bought a lot of it." And he just looked at me shocked. He said, "Really?" And I go, "Well, yeah, you ran a hedge fund. That's how it works. You buy low, you sell high. You're supposed to." But a lot of people say they can and they can't. And a lot of people say it can't be done and they actually shouldn't be trying. But then there are others that have good probability models. And if you've got one, like Keith said, with a basic 12th grade math, you can probably figure this stuff out for yourself. If you can't figure it out for yourself, you can hire someone like me, and I can hire someone like Keith. And we can all work together to make you a little bit of money and get your financial situation secure and well protected, and limit your exposure, limit your downside exposure. So that's kind of what the goal is. So I'm trying to take my clients' advice and toot my own horn a little bit. That's what I do for people in my day job, and hopefully I don't have to quit my day job for becoming a celebrity. Somebody's actually said that to me this week, and they said, "You're a celebrity," and I said, "No, I'm not a celebrity, but I do have a cool radio show, and I like talking to people about important stuff." So I was reading this article, and it was all about how kids, young children in the age of 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, are leaving their faith. They're asking them, do you believe in God? Do you, and they're saying no. They don't. They're in the national poll. They don't believe in God. They don't consider themselves Christians or Jewish, or they don't consider themselves anything. They're either agnostic, or they say there is no God. They're atheists. One kid responded in the survey, "Well, believing in God is like believing in Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy." And I was kind of shocked. And the article had a couple of solutions that it was proposing. It said that the reason they thought this was happening was because kids were in an educational environment where they didn't have the combination of faith and science. More and more, it's just, public schools are talking about science, 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 and there's no real faith component involved. And I thought, well, that's an interesting idea, Mr. Article Writer, but I don't think it has anything to do with what's going on at school. I think it has more to do with what's going on at home. So they did take a survey of adults, and if they could name a scientist who was a Christian, and only 13% could. And that 13% named Galileo. So only 13% of adults can name one Christian scientist, and that's a guy from the early Middle Ages. I mean, I'm just floored. Because if you look at the history of science, in fact, where did science come from? You might be surprised, you might be shocked to learn that science started in the church. There's an article written recently by Scott Laughlin, and he's a former physicist from Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, and he works on quantitative finance problems in Berkeley. And he wrote an interesting and small article that says, the argument that the church has a role to play in the continuing evolution of scientific endeavor is no doubt confusing to many people, believers and non-believers alike. In modern times, it has become fashionable to think of the church as somehow antithetical to science. The idea is virtually universal among non-believers, among whom I am, alas, count myself. I suspect the idea has become more common. There's no reason that it should be. The scientific project, even the scientific method itself, says Scott Laughlin, is an invention of the church. He goes on to say, science was invented in the High Middle Ages, a peculiar era of high prosperity and human achievement in Europe and other parts of the world. It was a time of knights, a time where Europeans reached their true potential as civilized people. The great European universities were founded during this happy era. Bologna, Coimbra, Paris, Oxford, Salamanca, Cambridge, Montpellier, Padua. The very idea that the university was invented during this period, and it came straight from Catholic monasticism. Musical notation was invented, windmills were invented, eyeglasses were invented, the printing press was invented, and the mechanism of clocks were all improved. The inventions were basically they were just going wild, going gangbusters. People were free to invent and explore. The inventions like the paper, the spinning wheel, a magnetic compass, they were all introduced from abroad by great commercial city-states. Abroad, he means not European. And we have visual evidence of the glory and prosperity of this time in Europe in the form of Gothic cathedrals. One can look at these magnificent churches as the physical crystallizations of the same heroic spirit that produced the scientific method. In the same sense, one can look at the Parthenon of Pericles as the physical crystallization of the spirit of Plato and the Greek philosophers. So, honestly, you have an environment where there was a lot of wealth and prosperity, and the scientific method took root, but it took root in universities that arose from Catholic monasticism. So, yes, were there poor people at the time? Were there famines? Were there starvation? Were there wars? Of course, just like there were during the Greek period, just like there is in our time. But it didn't make a difference to the fact that it was the church that started the scientific method. And I'm going to come back and give you a list of scientists who still believe in God, and you're going to be surprised. This is Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. We'll be right back.
NBC Talk Radio, 1050 AM.
Some combinations were just meant to go together. Chips and salsa, refrigerator and freezer, the internet, and those cute little cat videos. At State Farm, there's another combination meant to go together, home and auto, as in combining your home and auto insurance with one agent, which leads to another combination, saving dollars and cents. Your State Farm agent, the DeSalvo Insurance Agency, is here to help life go right. Combine home and auto and see how much you can save. For more information, call the DeSalvo Insurance Agency at 310-553-0241 in Beverly Hills, or find him on the web at BillDeSalvo.com. That's BillDisalvo.com.
Hi, this is Donald Carpenter. I've written a pretty interesting book. It's called The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, How to Defend Your Family in Any Economy. To pick up a copy of The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or the website FamilyManSMVSG.com.
We want to share a secret with you. There's a new and revolutionary way to bring the Earth's most effective organic plant extracts directly to your skin in a pure and healthy way. Lule Botanicals utilizes a breakthrough process called supercritical plant extraction. Your skin will radiate vitality and health like never before. No one wants to kiss an alligator face. Now they won't have to. Visit us on the web at www.lulebotanicals.com. That's LOULEIBOTANICALS.com. To get your 20% discount, use promo code LLB20.
Dr. Tatsuo Hirano asks, why suffer and ignore your pain and illness? Stop it before it gets out of control. Acupuncture is like fresh air, revitalizing your body and mind. Dr. Tatsuo Hirano, renowned acupuncturist to the stars and world-class performing artists, will help you get back to optimum health. To explore the healing arts of Oriental medicine, call Dr. Hirano at 818-244-2287. The first 20 callers will receive 10% off their first visit. Just say Donald Carpenter sent you.
Berndorf Law Offices, located in Los Angeles, is an employment, counseling, and litigation boutique law firm for California employers and executives. Employment laws change almost daily, and penalties for noncompliance are substantial. If you're an employer in Southern California and need assistance navigating the waters of employee relations, legal aspects of human resources management, or need defense against a lawsuit, our lawyers can help. Find us on the web at berndorflaw.com. That's BIRNDORFLAW.com. Or on Twitter at Law4CA Employers.
This is Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show, and I was just reading you a little bit of an article a guy wrote about how the scientific method started at church. Now, that's probably spinning a bunch of people's heads right off their sockets, but it's it's like Keith said, and like I've been saying, we just want to look for the truth, and if you can find some historical fact that way, maybe you can tell it to your kids at home, and then they won't be running from church because they heard at school that it's like believing in Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy, which is just silly nonsense. So I wanted to take a moment to share a little hidden gem in Beverly Hills. Good Shepherd Catholic School. We want to talk about a great place to combine faith and science. Good Shepherd Catholic School has been serving the west side of Los Angeles and Beverly Hills vicinity for over 86 years. They offer small class sizes, energetic teachers, and strong academics from pre-K to 8th grade. Visit them on the web at www.gsbh.net or call at 310-275-8601 to schedule a tour. There's nothing like a Catholic education to instill strong Christian values, highest academic standards, and service to others. Good Shepherd Catholic School of Beverly Hills is registering for the 2017-2018 school year, so call them right now at 310-275-8601. That's 310-275-8601. They'd be happy to talk to you, and you can tell them Donald Carpenter sent you and told them that's a good place for your children to learn about the nexus, the connection, the deep historical connection between faith and science. So we've discovered that science and the scientific method actually arose out of medieval monasticism. And that's pretty great. But I told you that I'd give you a list of scientists who believed in God. And, we know a couple of names. I think, that 13% that could only name Galileo, they weren't really putting on their thinking caps because a lot of people think Albert Einstein. He was always talking about a higher power. And a guy that I was really surprised about was Carl Sagan. Now, Carl Sagan was he ran that show Cosmos for years, and he would always talk about billions and billions of galaxies. And he was pretty amazing. And while he didn't come out and say that he believed there was a God, he did say one thing that I thought was fascinating. He said, I'm not smart enough to say that there is not. I do not have enough information to definitively proclaim there is no God. And I think that's a step in the right direction. But if you go down the list of people, of scientists who believe in God, I have a list in front of me right now, and I'm not going to read all these names because there's 170 of them. And if I just go to the first, let's see, first 55, they're all scientists, some that are alive today, most of whom are alive today, that have strong faith and believe in God. I mean, a couple of guys that come to mind, scientists who had strong faith, were Gregor Mendel, who's the father of modern genetics. He was a Catholic priest. And you'll be surprised to probably learn, you might know this name, you might not, but the guy who invented or developed, came up with the Big Bang Theory was actually a Catholic priest. His name was Father Georges Lemaitre. He is a French priest, and he developed the idea of the Big Bang Theory. As a matter of fact, Albert Einstein didn't believe in the Big Bang Theory. Georges Lemaitre took the evidence to Albert Einstein, had a long discussion with him, proved its possibility mathematically, and then Albert Einstein became a believer. So there you go. Scientists who are still faithful. So it's not a question of should I believe or not believe. I think that's starting sort of getting this whole thing on the wrong foot. I mean, what you might want to tell your kids is not to worry that there's some kind of conflict, because there's no necessary conflict between faith and science. They answer and ask different questions. Science is asking the question of what from the observable facts, what from the universe that I can perceive and measure, what is available to me? What can I tell about the world around me from what I can see? And can I repeat those observations? Can I tell? Can I use a scientific method to get some kind of answer to that question? Faith is not asking that question at all. Faith is relational. Faith is, is there a God is a question that you might start with. But then once you discover God's presence, how do I relate to that God? It's completely different. The questions of faith cannot answer the questions of science ever, and the questions of science can never answer the questions of faith. And Carl Sagan was bright enough to be able to put that into words and say, I'm not smart enough to tell. And for me personally, I'm not smart enough to say there isn't a God, because guys that are 1,000 times smarter than I am, like Albert Einstein, Max Planck, who invented or developed a quantum theory, and Georges Lemaitre, who developed the Big Bang Theory, they all believe in God. And I'm just not that bright. I can't say, oh, they're wrong. No, I'm not. I guess what I'm saying is I'm so dumb that I still believe in God. But the solution for me is this. If I want to know if there's a God, and if there is, I'm not going to start with, well, I'm just going to go ahead and believe it because somebody said, because my mom told me, or my grandma, or some friend said, hey, this is a really good idea. You should believe this. I propose a challenge. If there's a God, make God prove it to you. And how do you do that? You tell him. You say, God, if you're really there, prove it to me. And I guarantee you, you're going to have an answer that you will not expect. And it's like my mom told me one time, it will be the ride of your life. And that's really what I'm challenging you to do today. If there's some question about whether or not you should believe in faith or science, you're asking the wrong question, because science is not a belief and faith is not a belief. They're both experiences of a completely different nature. Science is the experience of your senses measuring and mapping the world around you. Faith is the experience of your relationship with God. You can be inspired to be an amazing scientist, and I believe a lot of people have been. I believe that my buddy Keith was inspired to be an amazing analyst. I believe that I was inspired to have a radio show, because if you would have asked me in February, was I going to have one? I'd have been, man, are you out of your mind? What's a radio show? But I have one. And I have one by the grace and mercy of God. And hopefully he's merciful to you and that you enjoy listening to me, because I just thought that was kind of funny. But, I was talking to some friends this weekend, and we were talking about marriage. And the topic came up that one of the ladies said, well, marriage is just a piece of paper. Oh, man, I got to tell you, I bit my tongue so hard, I thought my head was going to explode. I was like, oh, my goodness, marriage is just a piece of paper. I'm like, under my breath, I wanted to say, well, maybe if you think marriage is just a piece of paper, that might be why you're still single. But I couldn't say it to her personally, so I just thought I'd say it to 9 million people over the air. But I mean, I was stunned. I mean, the 1960s called and they want their ideology back. I mean, I just couldn't believe that somebody would say that marriage is just because marriage is not just a piece of paper. Marriage is a sacrifice. Marriage is living for others. Marriage is no place for wimps. You have got to be strong, and you have got to be dedicated, and you have got to be motivated, and you have got to stay with it day in and day out, good times, bad times. Marriage is one of the greatest covenants you could ever experience in your life. And if you want a great marriage, I'm telling you, you take that test to God too. You tell him, if you're really there, help me to find a good marriage. Start with the bubble bath revolution, guys. You got to man up. And when I say man up, I don't mean be a tough guy. I mean be a good guy. Be a guy that supports your family, takes care of your wife and kids, builds community. I mean, listen to Keith. He's building community. He started with maybe 2 guys in their, over a napkin, and they've got 81 employees now, and they're one of the strongest management firms on Wall Street. I mean, they're just doing good work. And you look at people that have had terrible times in their marriages, and they've rebuilt them. They've made the commitments. They've changed their lives. They've come back together. And all this, I believe, comes from the grace of God and the power that he gives us to do these things. So join that bubble bath revolution. Follow me on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, Family Man, SMVSG. Get a hold of my book, The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide. And don't forget to get yourself some Lulay botanicals, because you don't want to be an alligator face. This is Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show, and I'll be back, and I can't wait to see you again. Have a great week.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
I'm Chuck Kamlick, CNBC. Stocks start the week higher. The Dow is up 90 points, the Nasdaq nearly 50, the S&P 12. Ford stock rose on news it fired its CEO, naming a turnaround specialist to run the company. Ford hopes Jim Hackett will generate more buzz and a higher stock price. Ford stock is down 35% in 3 years. Shareholders of Dutch paint maker AXO are suing the company for not merging with PPG. The Pittsburgh paint company has made three buyout offers, the latest almost $30 billion. AXO keeps saying no. Liquidation sales began today at 138 JCPenney stores that are closing forever. Before you fire up that backyard grill this weekend, the company that makes Nathan's and Curtis hot dogs is recalling some of them because they may contain bits of metal. And Netflix started selling stock 15 years ago today. It's up 13,000% since, from $15 then to $157 now. Chuck Kamlick, CNBC.
My number 2 does not look like a number 2. I don't know what to call it. Is there a number 3?
Table for 4, please. Anything close to the restroom.
A middle seat with these stomach problems? That's my fear of flying.
Sound like you? If it does, you could be one of the many people with a digestive condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. Even if you don't know what EPI